How many remember 555 Soul clothing? Before Supreme, before A Bathing Ape, before streetwear was $1 billion industry, or even called streetwear, there was 555 Soul, a brand that started in the heart of New York City, founded by a visionary designer named Camila Elki. 555 Soul was one of the OG brands that got this whole thing started, proving to the industry that there was money to be made in the street sector of fashion. But how did it all begin? And what made 555 Soul a streetwear staple? And why did it eventually fade out of the spotlight? Well, let's find out. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is the rise and fall of 555 Soul, one of streetwear's early day pioneers, forgotten by time. But before we get started, please take a second to hit that like button for us. It's the best way to help us to continue to grow. And another way to help us out is by stopping by our website. We offer hundreds of pop culture pieces and apparel, and I'm sure you'll find something there that you might like. But with all that being said and out of the way, let's dive into this story. Camila Elki wasn't your typical fashion mogul. Born and raised in New York, she was always an artist at heart, drawn to the DIY culture, punk aesthetics, and hip-hop's raw energy. In the late 80s, while still a teenager, she started experimenting with fabrics, cutting and sewing, and creating one-of-a-kind pieces from her Brooklyn storefront apartment. Living in the city during the rise of hip-hop, Camila was at the heart of all that was happening at the time. When Raucous Records came out, she was doing collaborations with most of her artists. From day one, music heavily inspired the work that she was doing. In 1989, with nothing but a sewing machine and a vision, Camila Elki founded 555 Soul as a small independent label. The name originated from party phone lines advertised on the Lower East Side where Camila's shop/home was located. What started out as a passion project in her apartment quickly gained traction. Camila was making unique handmade clothes, hoodies, jackets, t-shirts with bold designs, and selling them out of her space in their local markets. New York City, especially during this time, was a melting pot for hip-hop, skate culture, and graffiti art. Elki's designs reflected the energy: baggy silhouettes, innovative fabrics, and unconventional colorways. She came along at the perfect time, offering exactly the look that people wanted. As hip-hop and fashion began to merge in the 90s, 555 Soul became one of the pioneering brands to embrace the culture. The brand was worn by skaters, rappers, and creatives alike. 555 Soul's gear started showing up in New York City boutiques and underground fashion hotspots. It was different from mainstream fashion because it was edgy and it was deeply connected to the city's creative scene. The brand got its big break in the mainstream in 1990 when celebs began wearing their hats on various shows and music videos on MTV. Unlike commercial brands trying to force their way into street culture, 555 Soul felt authentic. It was designed by the streets, for the streets. 555 Soul was also ahead of the game when it came to collaborations. Long before Supreme made its standard practice, 555 Soul was linking up with underground artists and musicians and even socially conscious movements. The brand had a purpose. It rebelliously stood for the community. Artists like De La Soul, Mos Def, and The Roots were regularly spotted in 555 Soul, making it a streetwear staple in the music world. The brand was heavily associated with what was called at that time backpack rap and conscious hip-hop, aligning with artists who valued style and substance. By the mid-90s, 555 Soul was rolling, and they had expanded beyond New York City, gaining shelf space in select boutiques and specialty stores in cities like Los Angeles, London, and even Tokyo. After relocating their flagship store to the Soho district, it became a hotspot for artists, skaters, and tastemakers all over the city. Not to mention, the brand became a global name in the Japanese streetwear market, where demand for American street culture was exploding. 555 Soul distinguished itself from competitors by blending military and workwear aesthetics with bold, creative streetwear designs. Breaking cultural barriers, they hosted an event at the legendary Shibuya nightclub in Harlem, bringing together Japanese rapper Zebra, DJ Tony Touch, and breakdancing legend Crazy Legs. The brand was evolving into not just another groundbreaking streetwear label, but a curator of spaces uniting diverse subcultures in New York City and around the world. Camilla's store, with its electric sensibility, blended skateboarding and hip-hop culture, becoming a 90s cultural epicenter. and laying the groundwork for what would later be known as streetwear. By the late 1990s, 555 Soul had long transitioned from an underground label to a mainstream streetwear powerhouse. The brand had strong ties to conscious and alternative hip-hop, making it a go-to for artists and fans of the genre. 555 Soul's rise in the 90s was fueled by a perfect storm of music, culture, and unique designs. They were pioneers in streetwear, paving the way for many of the brands that we know and love today. By the late 90s and early 2000s, 555 Soul was going strong. The rise of hip-hop and mainstream culture meant that more people wanted in on the wave. 555 Soul was right there alongside brands like FUBU, Fat Farm, and Echo. But nothing lasts forever. As streetwear became more commercialized, the competition grew even more. Newer brands like Supreme, Billionaire Boys Club, and the Hundreds were redefining the industry. Meanwhile, mainstream fashion houses began incorporating streetwear aesthetics into their collections as well in an attempt to keep up. 555 Soul, like many of its contemporaries, wound up facing difficulties adapting. The brand had grown, but the streetwear landscape was changing a lot. The same underground culture that made it a success was now evolving into something new. So what happened? How did 555 Soul go from being the leader in street fashion to fading into obscurity? Well, there's actually a few key reasons. First, the streetwear industry evolved so fast. By the mid to late 2000s, newer brands were changing the game with hype-driven drops and high-profile collaborations. The loud and oversized aesthetic that 555 Soul was known for started to feel dated. Then, there was the mainstream shift. As 555 Soul grew, it expanded into larger retail chains, which helped its sales at first, but later began to hurt the brand's exclusivity. After all, historically, once a streetwear brand becomes too accessible, it starts to lose its cool factor. Don't ask me why. After all of these years of doing all of these videos, I still really don't know, but it just seems to be the case every time, without fail. Finally, creative stagnation. While brands like Supreme and Stussy kept reinventing themselves, 555 Soul didn't evolve fast enough. It stuck with what worked for them in the 90s and early 2000s, but fashion was moving forward. By 2004, Camilla would go on to leave the label after clashing with her business partner, and 555 Soul would slowly fade away. So is 555 Soul completely gone? Well, not exactly. The brand still exists in some form or another, but it's nowhere near its peak influence. Attempts to revive it haven't really made the same impact that its original run had. In today's fashion world, nostalgia for the 90s and early 2000s is strong, and that could open the door for 555 Soul's comeback. But it would need to evolve and reconnect with today's streetwear audience if it really wanted to become a player again. Even though it's no longer a dominant force, 555 Soul helped lay the foundation for modern streetwear. It was one of the first brands to bridge hip-hop, skate, and urban fashion in a way that felt authentic. And for that reason alone, I think they deserve a place in streetwear's history books. But what do you think? Were you a fan of 555 Soul back in the day? Would you wear any of their new stuff now? Hit us up in the comments and let us know. And if you made it all the way to the end, as always, as I like to say, don't forget to hit that like button for us. Liking and sharing these videos is the only way to get the YouTube algorithms to notice our channel and help us to continue to grow. And if you want to be updated whenever a new episode drops, then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be dinged when each new video comes out. With all that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time, peace.